Well, Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Good evening. Hallelujah. I have another one to go with that. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
So, look, with the shofars, because Father laid it and placed it in my heart to have the shofars, and we had plenty of shofars, and we still might have one at the end regardless. But starting off, just want to say, so my name is Arzima, and for this second evening for Sukkot, or the Booth Feast of Tabernacles, I'm going to just be following along in the Heavenly Father's Spirit. And so far, what the Father definitely gave me was just to state, with the fact that yesterday, with it being the first day, or however we want to state it, from sunset to sunset, the first day of fall was supposed to be yesterday, so the fall equinox as well. So Father, He lines things and He puts them into place. So with that, whenever the people would go out into the wilderness, obviously they would take anything, the trees, the branches, and different types of, I would almost call them flowers, but I don't want to actually get off into the names too deeply, but just certain type of green plants is what I'm just going to leave it as it. And they would just take it and they would build themselves a hut so that they could just be out there and be protected while they were in Father's presence, walking along in the wilderness. So with that, I was just going to read Leviticus 23, the appointed festivals, and that's just where I was going to start from, obviously 23, verse 1. And the Father spoke unto Mosheh, saying, Speak unto the children of Yisra'eel, and say unto them concerning the feast of Yahweh, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations. Even these are my feasts. 6 days shall work be done, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of rest. A holy convocation ye shall do, no work therein. It is the Sabbath of Yahweh in all your dwellings. There are the feasts of Yahweh, even holy convocations, which ye shall proclaim in their seasons. In the 14th day of the first month at even is Yahweh's Passover. And on the 15th day of the same month is the feast of unleavened bread unto Yahweh. 7 days ye must eat unleavened bread. And the first ye shall have a holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work therein, but ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh. 7 days, and the seventh day is a holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work therein. And Elohim spoke unto Mosheh, saying, Speak unto the children of Yisra'eel, and say unto them, When ye be come unto the land which I give unto you, and shall reap the harvest thereof, then ye shall bring a sheaf of the firstfruits of your harvest unto the priest. And he shall wave the sheaf before Elohim to be accepted for you. On the morrow after the Sabbath, the priest shall wave it, and ye shall answer, or ye shall offer that day when ye wave the sheaf and he lamb without blemish of the first year for a burnt offering unto Yahweh. And the meat offering thereof shall be 2/10 dill of fine flour mingled with oil, an offering made by fire unto Elohim for a sweet savor. And the drink offering thereof shall be of wine, the fourth part of a hin. And ye shall eat neither bread, nor parched corn, nor green ears until the same day. that ye have brought an offering unto your God. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings. And you shall count unto you from the morrow after the Sabbath, from the day that you brought the sheaf of the wave offering. 7 Sabbaths shall be complete. Even unto the morrow, after the 7th Sabbath, shall ye number 50 days, and ye shall offer a new meat offering unto Yahweh. You shall bring out of your habitations 2 wave loaves of 2 tenth deals. They shall be of fine flour. They shall be baked with leaven. They are the first fruits unto Yahweh. And you shall offer with the bread 7 lambs without blemish of the first year, and 1 young bullock, and 2 rams. They shall be for a burnt offering unto Yahweh with their meat offering, and their drink offerings, even an offering made by fire or of sweet savor unto the Father. Then ye shall sacrifice 1 kid of the goats for a sin offering, and 2 lambs of the first year for a sacrifice of peace offerings. And the priest shall wave them with the bread of the first fruits for a wave offering before Yahuwah with the 2 lambs. They shall be holy to Yahuwah for the priest, and you shall proclaim on the selfsame day that it may be a holy convocation unto you. You shall do no servile work therein. It shall be a statute forever in all your dwellings throughout your generations. And when you reap the harvest of your land, thou shalt not make clean riddance of the corners of thy field. When thou reapest, neither shalt thou gather any gleaning of thy harvest. Thou shalt leave them unto the poor and to the stranger. I am Yahuwah your God. And Elohim spoke unto Mosheh, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, In the 7th month, in the first day of the month, shall ye have a Sabbath, a memorial of blowing of trumpets, and holy convocation. You shall do no servile work therein, but ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto Elohim. And Yahuwah spoke unto Mosheh, saying, Also on the 10th day of this 7th month, there shall be a day of atonement. It shall be an holy convocation unto you, and ye shall afflict your souls, and offer an offering made by fire unto Yahuwah. And ye shall do no work in that same day, for it is a day of atonement, to make an atonement for you, therefore, Yahuwah your God. For whatsoever soul it be that shall not be afflicted in that same day, he shall be cut off from among his people. And whatsoever soul it is, or whatsoever soul it be that doeth any work in that same day, the same soul will I destroy from among his people. You shall do no manner of work. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations and all your dwellings. It shall be unto you a Sabbath of rest, and you shall afflict your souls. And the 9th day of the month of even, from even unto even, shall ye celebrate your Sabbath. And Elohim spoke unto Mosheh, saying, Speak unto the children of Yisra'eel, saying, The 15th day of this 7th month shall be the Feast of Tabernacles, for 7 days unto Yahuwah. On the first day shall be a holy convocation. You shall do no servile work therein. 7 days ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto Yahuwah. On the 8th day shall be a holy convocation unto you. And you shall offer an offering made by fire unto Yahuwah. It is a solemn assembly. And you shall do no servile work therein. These are the feasts of the Father, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations, to offer an offering made by fire unto Yahuwah, a burnt offering and a meat offering, a sacrifice and drink offerings, everything upon his day, beside the Sabbaths of the Father, and bestow your gifts, and beside all your vows, and beside all your free will offerings, you shall give unto Yahuwah. Also in the 15th day of the 7th month, for when ye have gathered in the fruit of the land, ye shall keep a feast unto Yahuwah 7 days. On that first day shall be a Sabbath, and on the 8th day shall be a Sabbath. And you shall take you on the first day the boss of goodly trees, branches of palm trees, and the boss of thick trees, and willows of the brook, and you shall rejoice before Yahuwah your God 7 days. And you shall keep it a feast unto Yahuwah 7 days in the year. It shall be a statute forever in your generations. You shall celebrate it in the 7th month. You shall dwell in booths 7 days. All that are Israelites born shall dwell in booths, that your generations may know that I made the children of Israel to dwell in booths when I brought them out of the land of Egypt. I am Yahuwah your God. And Moshe declared unto the children of Israel the feast of Yahuwah. Now, having read and said all of that, the one conclusion I could come to is with the time and the land that we're living in now, we're trying to get ourselves back onto track with these feasts. So in doing so, we already know we won't do everything perfectly because there's still been so much that's been stripped away from our knowledge, of our knowing. And because of that, we've just had to more or less just kind of follow along in the spirit just to try to pick up where we're supposed to be at. And so saying that, I guess I could tie this together and say, so in trying to share these things, for instance, like yesterday as it was stated with family, trying to share it with family, and just trying to be around family to get them the information and knowledge, I could speak for myself, it seems to be something where I know I can tell them, but I know my family, of course, they still look at me like, yeah, okay, whatever, I'm just going to go over here and do this thing or do this Christian thing. So, having said that, we already know that the people, and I can't say all people, but a lot of the people, they just don't seem to grasp the importance of these things. So even though we had an atonement, we're still supposed to have a feast. In fact, when you look at a lot of the things from what I did just read, it looks like a whole lot of it is feasting. So if it's feasting, obviously if you're eating Father's food, then it's obviously not a bad thing. But the key word there is it's got to be Father's food. It's got to be like his living word is the water, the holy water, and his food is the word. So in that, I know I still have something else I do want to read, but I don't want to read that yet. I want to just ask if anybody had anything they wanted to interject into that with how the world is now.
We like what you're doing. Keep going. We're being blessed.
10 seconds. Well, okay. I guess I could go this route because I know I was talking earlier and just the discussion that I was having with the way that things are going. I'll give everybody a great example because I don't know who's on here and from where they would be from. So I know for some of us that do live in the state of North Carolina, some live a little further inland and some obviously live in the mountains and then some out on the coastline. So it would have been a week and some days ago now whenever there was supposed to be this hurricane that came through named Florence, of course, and because of this hurricane, and this is why I would say, well, yeah, that's Father's hand right there. That I could agree with. What ended up happening, they said that a lot of pigs, I'm still trying to look for this particular clip, but there were a lot of pigs that were actually lost to this. So they said that the price of pork would be going up. I said, good, maybe some people will come off of eating pork. Now, I'm not trying to damn or beat anybody over the head, but if anybody on the phone, which I know a lot of people on the phone have, if they've done a study into knowing what is actually good for us to eat and what is not, that is definitely one of the things that is not good for our temples. So, in saying all of that, the way of the world, it would seem at the moment, it's like we are, which this part I did not get a chance to go over, so of course, we know it's in the book of Revelation, so I couldn't say what seal we're on and whatnot, but I'm like, okay, what seal are we on? We have, obviously, the earthquakes, the fires going on in California, tsunamis, all the flooding, hurricanes, tornadoes, just all of these different things that are actually happening around the world. And while I'm stating it this way to say, well, the Father, he's trying to wake us up, I'm also keeping in mind that he's not letting him run completely loose and free, but he's still letting the adversary have his way with so many different things, obviously, to let him rule and reign. But like I said, he's still not completely free to do it. If he was, we would know. So deal in doing that, but you can also still see the Father's hand, how he moves to hold back these things, or how he still just lets the certain things happen. For instance, this is something I pulled up last year in the course. I didn't think to pull this link up either, but there was actually a flood that also happened within the state of North Carolina. And what ended up happening was it was a pastor in the church, congregation. They actually wanted the church to be in this particular spot, and they just needed the church to be there for whatever reason, and obviously even though the reason was because Father wanted it to be there. And the person, they would not sell them the land. So what happened was a flood ended up happening, and when this flood happened, the church obviously lifted up off from where it was at, and it floated right down to the spot that Father wanted the church to be at. And so because of that, the church was where Father intended it to be, so that was obviously where you could watch the Father's hand move and work. So I'm just able to see for myself all these different little things, and I try not to take for granted. Just when I say little things, I guess what I'm trying to say, I'm trying not to take for granted the quote-unquote little things, because the little things are really a big thing. And they end up being something that sometimes people could call a miracle, but it's something that if you don't pay attention, you'll miss it. So, as having said that, now I do want to ask this much to find out, with everything going on, because I know everybody's got a lot going on in their life right now, and definitely not going to hold anybody for a long period of time tonight, if anybody has actually noticed anything that has actually piqued their interest that's going on around the world right now. Just in the way, it could have been the way the hurricanes, storms have been coming through. I know one of the biggies, what I noticed, and I said, that's interesting, with not just the fish washing up, but the waters turning red in certain places, certain parts like Russia, and something with a stand at the end of the name of it. So anyways, does anybody have anything that they would like to share or have to say about anything they've noticed going on?
Well, I can just say this on behalf of our people that are waking up. I can say that it's more of our people that are coming into the truth than we really know about. And I've noticed that on the Facebook, you see them almost, they're not disappearing from certain Facebook pages, but you know that they are gathering together, and they come in, with the truth, and there are some that's similar to us, and they may not say they're helping to break down racial barriers, but it is part, when you look at some of them that are gathering, you can see a wonderful mixture in some of them, and some you do not, which I know this is not about the world, but I think it's important. And when we look at Isaiah 11, where Father had said that he would set his hand a second time to gather his people. And so when I was looking at that the other day, I was thinking about the different groups of the people. Some are gathering, and they are not mixed, because there are certain groups that Father is calling. So I'm seeing it's a natural thing I'm supposed to see, that some of them are not as mixed as others. Isaiah 11:11 says, "And it shall come to pass in that day that the Yahweh will set his hand again a second time to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria and from Egypt," that's 2, and from Pathros, that's 3, and from Cush. So everybody know I talk about Ethiopia all the time. So we know that's right there is one that we're familiar with. And from Elam, and from Shinar, and from Hamath, and from the islands of the sea. So I'm blessed to know that that's happening. So many of the people have to come out of where they were, whether it was in Christianity, whether they were Muslim, whatever. So I'm seeing that during this feast here, that they are really camping out even more now than when I got into this and recognized I had to do the feast. So I know that's not about the world, but I just so grateful to you tonight for how you made your presentation and sharing and everything. So that's my comment.
Well, thank you for commenting. And so what I was just doing is you said that because you're right about the gathering of the people and the people waking up. So, I mean, this is more or less like if this doesn't wake the people up time frame, then I don't know what will. And we already know some of them, they won't get it just until the absolute end. We still don't totally know how everything would go down detail for detail, but we obviously try to use the book as a reference guide. So with that leads me to where I was.
Well, wait, I do have another comment real quick. Well, I found it interesting that Florence was right in between holidays and things like that, to such a point that the last holiday, or the Day of Atonement, slipped up on me so fast because I was concentrating on praying for Florence, for it not to hit us. So I find it interesting that it came in between our feasts and things. So that may be part of the world. I don't know, from the world. Okay, back to you, dear.
Well, no, that is interesting when you say that, because it was like it was just so calm, and then it's like poof, all of a sudden, hey, we have this storm, and so then it was supposed to be like, what, 6 or 7 storms, I don't even remember the number count now, that was supposed to come and descend, and so I said, okay. And the one thing that I've learned is we still have to pay attention to the numbers, because the numbers do have a hidden significance behind them. So even in one of the people, and it wasn't just one, it was still multiple people, but I do remember one in general because I was just reading their comment where they stated this was strange that this time the storm, it's like it was out in the ocean for 3 days and it didn't move, it didn't do anything. So there are 2 things that came to my mind, well, more than 2, but I'll share this. So one is where we could talk about within the book of Exodus, whenever Father himself, he did actually stay his hand whenever he put the barrier between his people and Pharaoh's army so that they would not obviously be killed before they could cross. Cross, we say through the ocean, through the sea. I know some say through the lake, so whatever it was, it's still a big body of water, obviously, because it still wiped out his entire army once they actually got into the dry bed. But not just that, but like he said, it was 3 days, and I was like, well, we could say maybe Father's hand was staying it so that it could just not do as much damage as it was supposed to, or then the other thing, which I'll go ahead and say this and share this much, it could be because also the adversary also does like to imitate Father, that is trying to get up enough energy and strength through certain storm systems so that he could try, key word though, is to try to really tear up some stuff. So that was just my thought on that.
Well, here's the other thing that really stuck in my head a lot is words that they used when it come to the hurricane, and like it was really headed for Charlotte, North Carolina, and words like monster, storm makes landfall in North Carolina, and Hurricane Florence charges toward the Carolinas with potential for unbelievable, and Hurricane Florence slamming North Carolina coast, and let me see, it says Hurricane Florence makes landfall in North Carolina with plenty of destruction and suffering ahead. I'm saying, wow, wait a minute, let me do this, because he said, and the mountain area's deadly runoff may rage down, and I don't know, down something, I think our alleys, increasing susceptibility to rock slides and mudslides. Driving condition, of course, become very dangerous. And then what else did it say here? I just found that those words that they used, and I thought to myself, well, you know, they have to excite the people to do something, but this time it wasn't working. A lot of people were really praying. And then it said the storm is deadly. Well, people did lose their lives now. And so there are things that did happen, but I just for the first time started writing down those words that they were using. And I found that interesting too, especially because it was right in the midst of the feast. So now back to you.
Can I make a comment?
Please.
Okay. Two things. One, I was trying to say earlier about the sexuality in the world, that usually when bad things are about to happen, that usually changes. All throughout history, you'll see the different changes through the world. Once there was, sexual immorality in the beginning, before the flood, there was all sorts of things happening. Sodom and Gomorrah, all of a sudden, people started doing different kind of debauchery and stuff like that. Then when you look at Rome and Greeks, they started off very strong. They took over territories, and then all of a sudden, this androgyny type of, you can be this or you can be male, female. They start, the sex doesn't matter anymore. You see that through the Greek history, you see that through the Roman history, and you keep seeing that with Alexander the Great and all these other different things. Usually, a fall happens sometime after that starts happening. So when I'm looking in the world today, I'm looking at the same things happening. People think that this is the first time that this stuff started with, and they're like, I've never seen any such thing. All you got to do is open up your history books and read the history of what happens. And you can see that it's the same stuff all over again. Pedophilia, homosexuality, different things, people changing body parts. I mean, you can look through history and you see the same thing repeating itself. And then destruction, or that nation, something happened to it. They were really strong, and then all of a sudden they went downhill. Babylon and the rest of them. So that's one thing that I see in the current events that's happening throughout the world of today. The second thing is the sensationalism. It's when it came to Florence, so now I'm going to the Florence thing for where Rabbi had made a comment. It's almost like they want people to be hurt. I mean, the way that they speak and the way that they put things and the way that they place people, you would think that if this is a deadly thing, right, you would not put your newscasters in the middle of a deadly thing, right? Because I'm thinking if it's that deadly, why are they there? You know, they're doing it to make news, just to be sensational. We can see that the windstorms are there. All you got to do is just have a camera out there. You don't need to put people in harm's way. But they want you to see how strong the wind is right here. And look at it. Look behind me. Look at the tree that just fell down. Yeah, trees fall down all the time for regular wind. They haven't showed anything that we haven't seen before. But it's almost like they want people to be in such fear of it that they have to watch the news in order to figure out where the danger is going to be and how dangerous it actually is. Now, everybody on here is logical human beings. If it was that bad, they wouldn't put those people there. They just would not. It would make no sense that newscasters would be blowing away in the wind, like we saw in that movie where the cows were going around the whirlwind. I mean, because that's the way they make it seem. I didn't see one newscaster blown away or the cameraman. The cameraman didn't even flinch. You would think that would happen. And the slower the storm got, it's like the more they were upset, the more they tried to put more emphasis on, even though it's slow, it's still really deadly, you know, stuff like that. I was listening to them and I was like, really? Yeah, it's deadly no matter what you do. It's going to get you. If Father wants to get you, he's going to get you. So hunker down, and the shelters and the things that they have, that was well planned out. But that was from the cities and the states that and the military people that were helping out, and the unknown organizations that helped out. They were the heroes out here for braving those waters and saving the people out there. You know what the newscasters were doing? They said, do you see those people back there? They just saved them. You would think they would have put the camera down and they would have said, let's go ahead and help these people too. No. You see that person with a broken ankle? Wow, I'm so glad I wasn't over there. And let me tell you how he broke his ankle. He actually fell from the tree and we got it on camera. It's ridiculous. So the sensationalism that they're showing to put fear into people is absolutely ridiculous. Just give us what we need to know. And, you know, let the state, the military, and everybody do their jobs. And stop putting, because people are going to panic. And when they panic, they're not going to make the right decisions. We were talking about anxiety on Sabbath. This is part of making people have anxiety. And you see that mass hysteria happens. What are we going to do? We're doomed. So then they talk about the other hurricanes that were really devastating in the Puerto Rico area and the Virgin Islands and those type of things. And then they dogged the president about certain things that did and did not happen. It's like, you know, why don't you table the political agenda after the storm's over and then see what has happened for North Carolina that did not happen in these places? But you see that they run all of that stuff during the storm. And I was thinking, why are they saying these things right now? Right? They should just table that until everything's over, the crisis is over, and then you can compare damages and things of that nature. But that's part of the sensationalism. All right, I'm going to let somebody else talk.
May I make a comment?
Please.
Or, excuse me, Sister Arzima.
I was like, please. Talk away.
Okay. I'm definitely in agreement with what Minister Brian was talking about. And for me, I know this has already been an issue, but when we talk about the end times and things in that nature, I'm definitely, continuing to see an increase in things. I actually had a conversation with our minister here, and he said about maybe 5 years ago, you're going to see an increase in violence, as well as defiance. So I've just been looking at stuff recently, and every time I look at news, every time I look at YouTube, it's somebody's been shot. Somebody didn't want to show ID because they think that they're under their rights, and just stuff like that, and people snatching joggers down the street, or just been seeing an increase of violence and defiance. Those are two things. Excuse me. I apologize for that. And I just
Shout at the Bachelor is on 420 South Tri.
I apologize. My technology is mad at me. Apologize for that.
That was awesome. That was awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. It wouldn't be quiet. Okay. Let me talk now. Thank you, Google. Okay. Every time I flip to the news, it's always a little girl's missing. There's a rape. Somebody was shot down Boulevard Road. I'm just seeing all this, and I'm like, oh my God, every day something that has to do with violence or defiance. And also, I agree with what Mr. Brian Williams said about the things that are going on that he's noticing as well. I'm like, wow, that is just a lot. And he's definitely right. It seems, there was violence back then when I was younger, but the older that I've gotten, the more I'm seeing more stuff. And it could just be that my eyes are more open now, and I'm really starting to see stuff more. I think that's probably what's going on. But I hope that kind of fit in with what we were talking about with, noticing an increase or noticing, strange type things. So, and it's going to continue to get worse and worse. So, that ends my comment.
The statistics verify what you're saying. They keep saying the crime keeps going up. So it's not that you're just kind of seeing things for the first time. The crime is actually going up. Divorce is going up. All of these things are increasing. So, and you can just look at the statistical information that they have out there to verify what you're saying. And how young the people are that are committing the crimes now also. That's also increased. That's it, Sister Arzima.
And the other thing that we could just remember is that right now this is during the feast where a lot of our people are actually together, and these people learning the law. Some of them already know Father's commandments and laws, and they are teaching those that are coming so that they will be prepared, because it's understood that the time of the Gentiles is either over or almost over. And it's important that those that Father is waking up, or those that are joining, that they have this so that we will have that oneness. When we come together, all of us must know about those feasts and the timing so that we are kept alert through us rehearsing online or wherever we can. So it'll be in our brain and emphasize the fact that this is the God who created us, and his son, and we don't know when he's going to make a sound and say we out of here. It could be during the feast. It could be any time. But at least we have the rehearsal, and we know when we see somebody waving branches, either it's Passover and they welcome the Messiah in with those branches and the donkey, or we waving branches at the Feast of Tabernacles because we got these different named branches that they use and different things, other things that they use to emphasize it.
Or that was used as also. When you used to tell me to get branches, it wasn't like that. It was to spank my backside.
For to do what? For the spank?
When you told me to go get a branch, that was for spanking.
Yes. Oh my goodness. For those of us that was my parents and things. You don't tell us to do that, so they must have had something going on too. But this is the most joyous time. But back to you, Sister Arzima. I just thought I'd add that in there.
Don't feel bad. Well, no. It must be on the boys that had to get the branches. My mom would tell me that every now and then, and I'd be like, you okay? You pass it to them and you run. Okay.
They would have hit me with a tree if they possibly could.
No, we loved you.
Not a tree.
We loved our boys.
Oh my gosh. I was going to say to everything that everybody said. So I wanted to state with what you stated. I'll just cover all the quick parts really quick. So there is actually video on YouTube. And while you're talking about the newscasters, of course, they were told, because it's a part of their agenda, which is to crank things up, to bring out fear, and to try to get everybody to be on a whole different level of paranoia and anxiety. So they're feeding off of our energy frequencies. And so they showed a newscaster, and he was supposed to be pushing his body back against the wind to stand in place so hard, right? And then, of course, in the background, they showed two guys. They just walked by normally, and they looked back at the guy, and then they just kept right on walking normally. And they had on shorts, while the newscaster had on jeans and a rain garment over his head and everything. I said, okay. So that's the one thing I said, They just try to, like you said, they like to hype things up. Because at this point, they're trying to get people, it seems, to be worked up, and for whatever that reason is right, it's to cause panic, but I think it's to feed off of a certain type of energy, and sometimes that energy ends up being fear, and that's something that the adversary likes to feed off of. So things definitely have amped up from all the years. I mean, I could take it all the way back to when I was such and such age up until this point. A lot of things we still didn't know about because, obviously, we didn't have the news worldwide like we do now. But even in stating that, it still just seems like things are that much worse. And I believe that, obviously, a lot of these things were still happening. It's just that now we can get the news cycle 24/7, and it's just, you just feel where there are some things that are really off in the world. And when I say feel some things are off, I guess I'll just give you a great example of the fact that when you were talking about getting the people to have sex, being immoral with sex, and it's true, if anybody's looked through the different types of histories, obviously whenever you're doing that, you're sending or emitting energy to the other person or persons that you're with. So sex is also a form of worship, and obviously depending on what you're doing, it can be a good thing or obviously it can be a very bad thing. So because the one thing that's noticeable, and especially for me, because Father, he's trained my eyes, I see so many, which I'm sure you saw them in Brother Brian, in about to say the jail system. There's so many trannies, as we call them, transsexuals. It is ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, I know I see them everywhere now. And if I try to get a piece of news from the TV or a laptop, or even I've been in streets before where I was just walking by or what, and I just kind of looked and it's like, what is that? And if you have to actually ask the question in that way, what is that, then that lets you know right there off the bat that something just isn't right. So, well, wanted to ask at this point, was there anything else that anybody wanted to say or interject, because I was going to go ahead and wrap up?
Well, I just want to say we're having all this discussion in booths. So we're in the Feast of Tabernacles, so we are in the booth. So we are eating together. We are talking about Father's commandments and laws, and we're remembering it. And so we are bringing in what is happening in the world, which will cause us to be stronger in our faith, because we're keeping up with the time and Father's word and the time and applying it. And that makes a great big difference. Mm-hmm. And we're worshiping Him. And that's all I wanted to say, but we're in the booth, so back to you, sister.
Well, I did want to make a comment also before she gets off. Like I had said yesterday, the level of hate has increased. There are so many groups to hate each other. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it has to do with going against authority, being activists, certain kind of activists. There's an activist for just about everything that exists in the world. It's something that somebody doesn't like. And what we see them in the streets, we see people everywhere. And the thing is, a lot of these people don't appear to be believers because of the things that they say and they do. The believers, what are they doing out there? If they're out there, why? Why would you be walking with people that are violent and not stopping them? That's one of the issues that I have when I see shootings that happen and people assume things happen and then people die. And then, I look at the believers, and I don't see them come back on saying, we apologize for what we thought happened. And then when all the facts came out, we see that we were wrong. I don't ever see that happening. I wish I did. I wish I would see that. But it's like they disappear. They have them all on CNN, and they have them in CSNBC and all of these other news places, and then when they realized that it wasn't even what they thought, they just disappeared into nothingness. No, sorry, no, because they were judging people wrongly, like what happened here. There was clearly a gun. There was clearly things that happened here, and once all of the evidence came out, a person was left dead. And I was looking for the pastors and the bishops to come back out there and say, well, this is what happens when you accuse people or you do things before you find out everything that goes. Not one peep. They just disappeared. So I hope that us as believers do a better job when it comes to things like this. My prayer is that we get better at this as a nation of believers, that we hold ourselves accountable of accusing people too. Not just worldly people, but us. But to go along with what you're saying, I see an increase in that. I see an increase of accuse first, then find out the information later. And it gets so hyped up that even the elect people get into, yeah, I think he did it. They're just instant judgment. and then disappear afterwards. Not one person. Unless y'all know, unless you've seen it, somebody on here tell me if I'm wrong, where the people came back and said, you know, the church of blah, 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 or the congregation of this, we would like to apologize for thinking that this person did this. Has anybody heard multiple of people doing this?
No, I haven't.
Okay. But you do see an increase in molestation over what people will classify as believers and the Catholic faith that's been in the news lately, right?
Right.
For years, people know this stuff, but for years. And now they want something done years and years, like 20 years down the road. So there's been an injustice for 20 years, and everybody knows that this stuff has happened because it's been in the news for at least 10 of those years. And how long did it take to try to indict any of the people? How could that be possible if we're trying to do justice the right way as by Father's will? How can that happen? So that's my last comment for the night.
Well, I want to make a comment. Just remember, we are in booths, and we are all gathered together. So many of us, we are believers, and if there are some people among us in the booth as we're trying to worship Father, we should be in an. Let me see. I have not been with the people in the booth, just from listening. So if everybody gathered are all believers and they come to do this feast of tabernacles, what kind of atmosphere do we think that we are in, since we are leaving Egypt and rehearsing that all over again? How do we get ourselves into that atmosphere just mentally, with all this that's happening to us in the world, all these things that we know, this terrible stuff that we have to fight against once we leave the Feast of Tabernacles, because in that feast it is a festival of great joy and a harvest time, and a time that we've gone through all those other feasts in our lives and having to deal with life and all of that, and then come in to be with the people in the booth to sit around and to eat and to worship and to rejoice and to see those that Father, they call it in gathering as well, and tabernacling with the Father and in the booth. And so then we have left all those other folks somewhere, but we brought with us all these things that we deal with. And I think we, in worshiping our Heavenly Father, we come together for solutions to grow stronger in prayer. So when we come back out, we can help overcome the things we've now shared from our different communities. So I think I'm just really blessed. Back to you, Roger. I'm really blessed by everything that has taken place tonight, and seeing, and I'm understanding even more why Father have his people to get away from all of that, to get away and to have time with him in a desert kind of thing. So I just I'm very grateful for all the discussion. Back to you, Sister Arzima. I'm just, wow.
Well, let me just make a comment to that comment also.
Oh my goodness.
yeah, because the reason why we're in booths is to discuss Father's will, which are the commandments.
Yeah.
And when we are in the booths, we make sure that we're doing the right things. But the only way we know the right things is if we are looking at what the world is doing.
Absolutely.
And if the world is doing these things, that's one of the things that we discuss. And if we're doing the right things, then that's where the joy is coming from. But I mean, what do you think they were talking about in the tents? They were talking about stuff like this, so that we would not do what the other children of Israel did to constantly get the wrath of the Most High upon them. Because even though the feast existed, they still would do things against the Most High. Those very same people that used to be in the tents talking peace and all of these solutions, they then, a year or two later, started going against the commandments of the Most High. So, yes, it's very important that we talk about the things that we talked about tonight, but we also can't lose the fact that they still, after all of this, after all the peace, after all of the mercy that the Most High has shown us, they still rebelled against them anyway. So we definitely have to make a point when we come to these feasts to remember this and try to teach it to our children not to do those things that we just talked about in the feast tonight.
Well,
I'm sending it back.
I have a comment to that.
Okay.
Is that okay? Well, when we could go back to when the people was leaving Egypt, and the Pharaoh then was like the raging storm, and because it was coming after it was like a hurricane in a manner of speaking, because it was coming against them to kill them actually. And so there's a lot of wonderful things in here. Yes, thank you very much for that. Back to you, Arzima. But I was just thinking about there's a lot of pieces that you can relate to tonight's discussion. Do y'all agree with that? That when they looked behind, I mean, the children of Israel was fearful, even though they had father. You look back there and you hear all that sound coming, and all them chariots or whatever. Doesn't that feel like a hurricane?
You definitely weren't intent right there. In that point, they were running.
They was running, but look what Father did. He could have let all of this talk about the hurricane come right with his feast, but you notice he didn't do that. He cleared a way for his feast to take place. And if he does allow something like that, you will know that it is him, because he's going to do something so you'll know. But it is very interesting that everything clear up, and here's the festival. And before that, when we doing our atonement, I don't remember exactly what was happening then, but anyway, I'm going to turn it back over to you, Arzima. Thank you, Minister.
And again, what happened after the pillar and the whirlwind? They went and made a golden calf. After.
Yes. Good point, man.
I'm telling you that they should have learned that the Most High's power was truly what was keeping everybody alive. And for some reason, they keep forgetting that he did these things, and then they keep sinning against him. And that's what I'm trying to say here. They kept doing it, even with all of these supernatural things that Father has given them, and how merciful he is. They still keep forgetting, and they're still doing it today.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Well, what you were emphasizing to us, I'm sorry, did I cut across you?
No, ma'am. Go ahead.
Okay, and what you are emphasizing in this is that we need to really concentrate and understand Father's power, not fall into the same trap.
That's right. That's why we're here in these tents today. We're here in these tents to get an understanding and get it in our hearts. So when we gather together like this, we do not make those same mistakes that has caused the children of Israel to go into bondage, to have these curses, and to all of these things to happen. And once we get that in our souls, that's what makes us happy, because we're sharing all of this knowledge. Let's not do this. Let's make sure that we do this and be joyous and zealous over these type of things when we come to these feasts. That's why you have that happiness because the Messiah has been given to us, and we dwell in these tents to talk about all of these different things and to inspire each other and to uplift each other and to stick with each other, because like we talked about in the Sabbath conference, that anxiety feeling that comes over you when you are by yourself and you think nobody else is doing anything, once you leave those tents and once you venture by yourself for a little bit and then get caught out there unawares, that's why we do these things. So we're not caught out there unaware and get caught out there in a storm. Right?
Right. Sister
Right.
Arzima, just one more thing. I'm sorry, you finished?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, one more thing. I'd like to say that for this Feast of Tabernacles, the call went out for people to speak. And the call that went out to everybody has come. And so it's like when Father sent out a call, we know that the home of prayer people that have the understanding of what we are called to do have committed to be here at this feast tonight. It's only one that is missing, but all the others have responded. No, there's two missing not here tonight. So I am very happy about that. If Father sent a call out or an email or whatever way he does it, that the people that he's desiring to bring together, they're going to come. And that's what I get out of this. Now I'll turn it back over to you. Thank you, Minister. Thank you, everybody. I'll turn it back over to you, Sister Arzima.
Outstanding job. Outstanding job, Sister. Outstanding job. And Rabbi, outstanding job.
And Minister William, outstanding. And thank you, Bethany, for your comment.
Yes. Thank you, everybody.
Could I say something real quick, family?
Please.
I just wanted to. It's funny that you said the call. Well, when I say funny, I don't mean funny, ha. I just mean it's interesting to see. I just love to see how Father work, and doing things, because he's so strategic and it just lines up. And I was at work. I was asked to stay late. And so prior to that, I was gathering my belongings, and I was just trying to get out the door. I was trying to really sneak out. It was time for me to leave. I was like 10 minutes after. I said, let me hurry up and get out of here while no one's calling my name or anything. And I was trying to get to the door. And one of my coworkers called me and was asking, well, she said that the supervisor needed to see me. So the supervisor had asked if I can stay a few more hours over. So my flesh, the hair stood up on my arm and my back, because I was like, oh, Father, now I need to go home because we need to get online. I said, now look at this. I said, now isn't this something out of all the nights? And so this is what I was saying to myself. And so when my mouth opened, of course, I said, sure, what do you need me to help out with? And so after she had given me the assignment and what have you, I was sitting there. And so I was sitting and I was watching the clock, and Father gave me peace, because I was feeling anxious, like I was ready to go, but I know I had to stay there to take care of what I needed to do. So once I completed that task, I just sat there. And so it wasn't an irritation. It was like more of a disappointment that I was wearing, because I wanted to leave early. I had planned to leave early so that I can get home and get situated and be prepared for tonight. And so I sat there, and it didn't hit me until I got home. It took time for that feeling of disappointment to wear off. And as the disappointment wore off, and then I finished my work. I finished everything that was asked of me to do. My supervisor, it wasn't even 5 minutes after I just had a peace about it. And she came in and said, you go home. And I looked and I said, no, you said 6:30, it's not time. She said, no, but you go home. You've done enough. You need to go home now. You go home. And so I looked and I said, are you sure? And she said, yeah, go home. You've done enough. Just go home, get some rest. And as I was leaving out, I know that was Father. And I wasn't on the phone to hear everything that was said, so I don't even know if this is lining up with what was said. But I do know that the minute we release everything, like it's almost like inhaling, exhaling, and he tells us to be ready in season and out of season, and he tells us to stay on point and stay on guard, and to be available regardless, and to always represent him. And so for a moment, I was disappointed, or I don't know if it was irritation. It could have built up to irritation, but I know I felt disappointed because my plans was to go and be with the Father, and I just couldn't. But he was letting me know that I was still with him. And he was letting me know that even in the event of things changing and things shifting, we have to still be still and just let him do what he's doing, because he's working things through, even those small things. So that's all I wanted to say. So I was able to come and get on the line, even at the end of this piece. He knew I wanted to be a part and be, and break bread with my sisters and brothers. So I just thank him for even allowing me to be able to come on the end of it all. That's it.
Well, y'all gonna say something?
Well, I waited for you to hold, so I thought, thank you very well, Sister Lisa. Thank you very much for sharing that. And again, it emphasized that no matter what the delay is, when the Father's call go out, that you were still focused on being with us in the booth, because you know that you were part of this, and you knew that Father would not allow us to move not 1 inch until our other member was here on that line. So I thank you for opening your mouth and letting us know that you pushed your way, but you still handled it, where the world would say diplomatically, but self-controlled and focused on Father. You always focused on Father, and that brought you through to safety. So thank you very much. Back to you, Sister Arzima.
Wow. Well, and that's why I was just saying, wow. Thank you for sharing. I'm glad to know that, look, I have to put it this way, I'm not the only one. Sometimes when it's like, okay, I need to go, got to get on here, got to get online for this and that. And I think that's still, even though we're thinking, oh, I don't want to disappoint, the Father, he does know our heart, and he knows what it is that we're trying to do, and he also knows how the world sometimes might kind of step in to place a little bit and somewhat get in the way. But, of course, they still can't totally block us from him, and that's the key thing right there. So I definitely thank you for sharing that, because I know I could give some commentary on times where it's like, I need to do this or do that, and it's like, okay, let me go ahead and do this then. I guess I'll be late, or so forth. Just, trying to get with Father. But that still emphasizes the same thing with the booths, that that's why he would pull his people away to be in the booth. But we already know we're living in the land of our captivity right now. But sounds like somebody was getting ready to say something?
Mm-mm. No, I was agreeing with you.
So since we live in the land of our captivity, the only thing I can say is He knows we're doing whatever it is we can to try to keep everything in balance. And I was going to ask, and if you don't remember, I totally understand because it's been a long day, but I was wanting to know if you remember about which part you came in on, what we were talking about.
I was listening to Minister Brian was saying how the justice part of it. He was talking about the priest, the molestation and the things that take place in the Catholic Church, and how long it takes for someone to step up and say something about it. But then the offense of us as believers, he was saying we as believers, we accuse each other, and then we accuse, and then we ask later, or ask the questions later, I believe. So that was the piece I came in on.
Wow. It's like, well, you hear that, Brother Brian? Came in on a really good part. I guess I'll go ahead and obviously ask if anybody does have anything else that they have to say, anything drop into your spirit to say
Yes.
or state.
Yes, and it's to you, actually. Good job, Sister Arzima. I was happy to hear your voice tonight. I like the hosting. I'm liking how you're, you just, everything you're doing is really good, and I'm just blessed. And I also really, really liked hearing all the voices that were on here today. And again, I just enjoy learning, and feeling my spirit with the truth. And I like hearing others' perspectives on things and how others feel about certain things that are going on in the world. That is a blessing to be a part of. So I'm just very happy. I also liked hearing, I believe that was Sister Lisa. I love hearing your voice. Sometimes I miss a lot of you guys' voices on here. So when I hear Sister Arzima or Sister Lisa or whoever else, I'm like, yay, they were on. I'm like, woo! So, all right, that's the end of my comments.
But, well, thank you so much, Sister Bethany. And I definitely love hearing all of you guys' voices. It's how you want to say it, the differences, the contrast and everything, they just all complement each other. So I was going to ask for the quick. So, Robert, did you have anything else for our readers? Hello?
No, I don't have anything else.
Okay. So, as we would say a lot of times, so Father, He reroutes us in certain things, and I don't know if this was one of the verses or not, but He led me from Revelations back over into Ecclesiastes, which is still lining up regardless. So I'm going to read Ecclesiastes 3, but before that I was just going to make the statement that, yes, it is definitely true that, yes, the time of the Gentiles is over, and that is definitely why a lot of these things are actually coming out into the open the way they are. And if anybody noticed, it's not like it was before. Now is we were talking about accusing. Now it's like, no, it's really true. This really did happen. And so the accountability for these things, I could say, it's like justice is being served. And really, regardless, justice will be served because the Father's hand is obviously there in the middle of it all. So I'm just going to read Ecclesiastes 3, and then we'll be able to wrap it. So I'm going to read a time for everything. So to everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under the heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to get and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to cast away, a time to rend and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace. What profit hath he that worketh, and that wherein he laboureth? I have seen the travail which God, or Yahweh, hath given to the sons of men to be exercised in it. He hath made everything beautiful in his time. Also he hath set the world in their heart, so that no man can find out the work that God maketh from the beginning to the end. I know that there is no good in them, but for a man to rejoice and to do good in his life, and also that every man should eat and drink and enjoy the good of all his labor. It is the gift of God. I know that whatsoever Yahuwah doeth, it shall be forever. Nothing can be put to it, nor can anything taketh from it. And Yahuwah doeth it, that men should fear before him. That which has been is now, and that which is to be have already been, and Yahuwah requireth that which is past. So that, and of course now the thing that I wanted to have up here just blinked off. So what I'm going to do is ask, did you want to blow the shofar? Because I actually have the shofar I was wanting to lead out with.
You do whatever you are led to do, hostess.
Okay. Well, I will definitely do that.